These are the faces you need to remember before this story begins. Real people, real lives, stolen. He was handsome, charming, studying law, and women trusted him the moment they met him. He killed over 30 of them, and nobody suspected a thing. This is not a story about a monster. This is a story about something far more terrifying. Evil that looks completely normal. Theodore Robert Bundy. Born 1946, raised in a perfect American suburb. Perfect grades, perfect smile, perfect future. His teachers loved him. His neighbors trusted him. He was the kind of young man every parent pointed to and said, "That is who my child should grow up to be." But behind that smile, something was deeply, fundamentally broken. FBI profilers later said his eyes never matched his smile, not even once. Psychologists now call it the dark triad: narcissism, psychopathy, and manipulation. 3 traits that, when combined, create a person who can destroy lives without feeling a single moment of guilt. His method was calculated. He wore a fake cast on his arm, walked into crowded parking lots, and asked young women for help carrying things to his car. The moment she leaned in to help, she never came back. Bundy understood something most people never think about. Our brain is hardwired to trust a friendly face. It is biological, and he used that biology as a weapon. Neuroscientists discovered that when we see someone who appears vulnerable or in need, our brain releases oxytocin, the trust hormone. It bypasses logic. It bypasses fear. Bundy knew this, and he exploited it every single time. FBI agent Bill Hagmaier spent years interviewing Bundy in prison. He later said, Bundy was the most intelligent, most controlled, and most terrifying person he had ever sat across from. In one interview, Bundy looked directly at the camera and said, "I am the most cold-hearted son of a bitch you will ever meet." And he smiled when he said it. Psychologists who studied him found something chilling. Bundy had a complete understanding of right and wrong. He was not insane. He simply did not care. His brain literally processed emotion differently. The amygdala, the part responsible for fear, guilt, and empathy, showed almost zero activation in psychopaths like Bundy. Dr. Robert Hare, the world's leading expert on psychopathy, tested Bundy on the PCLR scale. Maximum score is 40. Average person scores around 4. Ted Bundy scored 39. He escaped from prison twice. The first time, he jumped out of a courthouse window. The second time, he crawled through a ceiling tile in his cell and disappeared into America. After his second escape, he drove to Florida. Within weeks, he attacked 5 more people. He could not stop. Psychologists say this compulsion was as powerful as any addiction. He was finally caught in 1978. A police officer pulled him over for a routine traffic stop. The most wanted man in America stopped because of a broken taillight. In court, he represented himself. He cross-examined witnesses. He charmed the jury. A judge told him, had you chosen a different path, you would have made a brilliant lawyer. Then sentenced him to death. On January 24th, 1989, Ted Bundy was executed. Outside the prison, crowds cheered. Some held signs, some celebrated, because for the first time in years, they felt safe. But the story doesn't end with Bundy's death, because the real question was never who he was. The real question was, how did no one see it coming? FBI agents who worked his case later admitted they had him in their hands multiple times and let him go because he simply did not look like a killer. This is what psychologists call the halo effect. When someone is attractive and charming, our brain automatically assumes they are also trustworthy and safe. Bundy exploited this perfectly. Studies show that attractive people receive lighter sentences in court, are trusted more in job interviews, and are believed more easily when they lie. This is not opinion. This is documented science. After Bundy, the FBI completely restructured how they profile killers. Before Bundy, they looked for someone who seemed dangerous. After Bundy, they started looking for someone who seemed too normal. Agent Robert Ressler, the man who literally invented the term serial killer, said Bundy changed everything. He was the case that proved monsters do not always look like monsters. Today, the psychopathy checklist Bundy scored 39 out of 40 on is used in courtrooms across America. It has helped identify over 10,000 dangerous individuals before they could cause harm. But here is what truly haunts psychologists. Bundy told investigators there were others like him, walking among us right now. People who have learned to wear the perfect mask and have never been caught. The mask of sanity. That is what experts call it. A perfect performance of normalcy, hiding something underneath that most of us will never understand and never want to. Ted Bundy is gone, but the question he left behind remains. How do you protect yourself from evil that looks exactly like the person standing next to you right now? So, what creates a Ted Bundy? Psychologists have debated this for decades. Was he born this way? Or did something make him this way? The answer is more disturbing than you think. Bundy grew up never knowing his real father. His mother hid his true origins from him. When he finally discovered the truth, he said nothing. But something inside him shifted permanently. Neighbors later recalled finding young Ted arranging kitchen knives around his sleeping aunt. He was 3 years old. He looked up at her and smiled. She never forgot that smile. Researchers who studied Bundy found 3 childhood warning signs that appeared in nearly every serial killer: animal cruelty, bedwetting past age 12, and obsession with fire. Bundy showed all 3. By the time Bundy reached university, he had developed what psychologists call a fantasy world, a parallel reality inside his mind where he had complete control over everything and everyone. He was rejected by a woman he loved deeply in college. She left him without explanation. Psychologists believe this rejection became the trigger that transformed fantasy into reality. The violence began shortly after. FBI profiler Ann Burgess spent years analyzing Bundy. She concluded that his crimes were not random. Every detail was planned weeks in advance. The charm, the fake cast, the location. Everything calculated to perfection. What made Bundy truly unique among killers was his ability to completely separate his 2 lives. During the day, law student, volunteer, charming neighbor. At night, something else entirely. And nobody connected the two. In his final interview, hours before his execution, Bundy made one last claim. He said pornography made him do it. Psychologists immediately rejected this. They said Bundy was doing what he always did, manipulating the narrative, even at the very end. Even facing death, Bundy could not stop performing, could not stop controlling, could not stop manipulating. Because that was not something he learned. That was something he was. And science is still trying to understand why. Today, neuroscientists can physically see the difference in a psychopathic brain. The orbital cortex, the region responsible for controlling impulses, shows significantly less activity. It is not a choice. It is a biological reality. But here is the question that keeps psychologists awake at night. If psychopathy is biological, if it is written into the brain at birth, then how many people are walking among us right now with that same brain? Undiagnosed, undetected, unaware. Estimates suggest that approximately 1% of the general population meets the clinical criteria for psychopathy. That is, 1 in every 100 people. In a city of 1 million, that is 10,000 individuals. Not all psychopaths become killers. In fact, most never commit a single violent act. Many become surgeons, lawyers, CEOs, politicians. Their lack of empathy becomes an advantage in competitive environments. The same trait that made Bundy a killer makes others extraordinarily successful. The difference between a Bundy and a successful CEO is not the brain. It is the environment, the upbringing, the opportunities, the choices made at critical moments. Bundy himself admitted he could have gone either way. After Bundy, the FBI created the Behavioral Science Unit, what you might know from the show Mindhunter, a team dedicated entirely to understanding the psychology of the most dangerous criminals. Bundy was their first major case study. The profiling techniques developed from studying Bundy have since helped solve thousands of cases worldwide. His legacy, if you can call it that, is that his evil made law enforcement smarter, strong enough to catch the ones who came after him. Carol Durant was one of the few who escaped. She fought back when Bundy tried to handcuff her in his car. She ran. She survived. And her testimony was what finally put him behind bars for the first time. Ted Bundy is gone, but what he revealed about human psychology remains. He showed us that evil does not announce itself. It smiles. It charms. It offers to help carry your books. And that is why his case will never stop being studied. If this documentary made you think differently about the people around you, that was the point. Because the most dangerous thing in the world is not a weapon. It is a mind without conscience, wearing a friendly face.